So week one, right around the corner. I mean, it is extremely close. It is like within, not just you can see it on the horizon, like you can probably reach out your hand a little bit and almost like touch it. And if you can't touch it, you can kind of feel the warmth of week one right there. The bottom line is there's a lot of big time games in week one. People would tell you the slate's not any good. They would be wrong. I look up and down this slate and I see a lot of matchups that are going to have, I think, some pretty high stakes when it comes to the college football landscape as a whole. And it's a little bit more specific to the team themselves. But let's kind of go game by game here. I got 4 of them I want to unpack with y'all. And we'll talk about what's on the line here for week one in some of these matchups. Got to start with the Thursday matchup. Remember last year, Utah went to the Swamp. Big time game. AR went crazy. It was unideal conditions. Cam Rising drives him down the field and get inside the 10-yard line, I believe it was. Throws interception. Game over. Game blouses for Florida. Now, say run that back, Turbo. We're going to Salt Lake City to play this game. You got Florida at Utah. This is on a Thursday. So it may not be that primetime spot that we had last year, but still, it'll be the game of the Thursday. It'll be one of the games to start off week one. And this, to me, is just a huge belief game for both teams. The Belief Bowl, if you will, with Florida going to Utah. I mean, if Florida wins, think about what this would mean for them with how they view themselves. Because I promise, they hear all the chatter. We sat down with Jason Marshall, sophomore corner at SEC Media Day. He told us, he's like, yeah, we know there's doubt out there, but we're about to shock the world. So if for Florida's sake, you hope that's the case. They hear the chatter. They know there's the over-under on them on 5.5 wins in Vegas and whatnot. If Graham Mertz were to lead them on the road and get a win against a team that was the Pac-12 title now in back-to-back seasons, that won the Pac-12 title in back-to-back seasons, that would be huge. That'd be huge for him in terms of confidence within that locker room. I'm not saying there's not already confidence in Graham Mertz in Gainesville internally, but it's a very different thing to do that during fall camp and to make good plays and win the starting job than to go on the road and play a Power 5 opponent like Utah and get a win at their house. Like the buy-in in Graham Mertz internally, I think, would continue to rise, and that would be huge. But also for Graham Mertz, I mean, think about the ride that he's been on since he was a freshman at Wisconsin. Think about the billing he had after he came out that one game and threw like 5 touchdowns in his first start, and then we saw a different Graham Mertz from here on out. Like, think about the chatter and the naysayers and the things that have been said about Graham Mertz since he was at Wisconsin. I mean, he grew up in front of our eyes. This kind of reminds me of the Bo Nix situation. He really had a lot of criticism early on in his career, and he just kind of had to roll with it. But now, getting a fresh start at a place like Florida and an opportunity like this, if they were to win this football game, I think for Graham Mertz, a lot of this would be kind of re-emphasizing and reproving to himself that he is who he believed he was out of high school and probably who he still believes he is. But to do it on the field, I think, would be something that you would hope would happen if you're a Florida Gator fan and would boost belief tremendously within Gainesville. Also defensively, if you win this game against Utah, I mean, think about how Utah plays football now. You all kind of know what I'm talking about. Kind of play bully ball. They're going to run the football at you. When you think about Utah, that game against USC kind of comes to mind where they broke like 49.5 tackles or some just ridiculous number. It's not a real stat, but you hear what I'm saying. It felt like 49.5 if it wasn't 49.5. If you can win this game with all that's been said about Florida over the offseason, this would be a tone setter for them the rest of the way. Like if you walk into Salt Lake City and you win a street fight against Utah, that changes the way that you approach future street fights. Like, just to be real. I mean, think about how that would change your attitude just as a fan when it comes to approaching the Tennessee game. You feel a lot better. You got some skins on the wall. You're like, okay, this is a new Florida defense. This new approach under Austin Armstrong, the depth that we've been saying we have, we proved it now. We proved it to y'all, proved it to ourselves, and now let's get rolling. Let's get some momentum here. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. Now, if they lose, I think you're kind of chasing that self-belief, if you will, and you would like to have a little bit more of a prove it to yourself before that game against Tennessee. You don't want to be chasing that into October. You want to know who you are, validate to yourself you're a good football team in every facet, be able to roll going forward. Now for Utah, if they win this game, the word that comes to mind is just like kind of rejuvenating, because you felt like you were supposed to win this game last year. You had it set up to win the game last year. You were a play away from winning that game in Gainesville. And now you go back home and you feel like with all the guys that you have back and with having just won the Pac-12, You feel like you're supposed to win this game. I think the people in Salt Lake City believe that. But last year they won the Pac-12 and they lost this game. So think about it this way. If you go and win this game against a team that you lost to last year and you still won the Pac-12, how do you view yourself coming out of this game where you kind of right that wrong? What do you say about what you can accomplish after winning that game in Salt Lake on that Thursday? I think it would do a lot. Now, if they were to lose this game, I think it would kind of feel like a step back. We'll see what happens with the Cam Rising situation. I don't have anything concrete at this point in time that I am aware of. If they win without Cam Rising now, look out. Because, Utah would feel like they are that team. I promise you. Let's move along here to another game. We got South Carolina, North Carolina. College game day. Gonna be there in Charlotte. Side note, I love College game day. College game day kind of catches some flack from some other people. I'm not going to name names. I love College game day. I think College game day is synonymous with the start of college football. I can't wait to have them back on the TV screen, to keep it a buck. Now, North Carolina, favored by 2.5 in this game. So just hold that thought really quick. For South Carolina, remember how they ended last year. Gave Notre Dame a phenomenal game in the bowl game. Last 2 games of the year, 2 top 10 wins. Took down Tennessee. Took down Clemson. Double-digit dogs both weeks. Both weeks I picked against them. Both Sundays I came in here and was like, hey, I couldn't account for Beamer ball. I couldn't account for what they were bringing that day. It was what it was. But if they win this game against potentially one of the first quarterbacks taken in the NFL draft in Drake May, that hype train, baby, starts coming down the tracks a little bit. Start to hear that engine. Start to hear the little choo-choo. That's kind of what it would mean, I think, for South Carolina. That would be the situation you'd like to find yourself in, because it would feel like, okay, everything we saw last year, everything that we kind of flashed, quote unquote, those last 2 games of the year, we're back, baby. Like, we're picking up where we left off. That was all real. That wasn't just some magic we got there in November. They're not going to play too many quarterbacks better than Drake May, if any quarterbacks better than Drake May. So just the bar you set for yourself with what you're able to do defensively, I think you really, confidence is a big word we're using here across the board here, but it really would kind of validate a lot of, okay, we are better defensively. Okay, we can hold up against this kind of talent at the quarterback position. So for them, that would be huge if they were to win in that way. But if they lose, it would be concerning because it doesn't get any easier. And again, North Carolina's favored in this game, so I don't want to make it sound like it would be just catastrophic. If you lose, you lose and you keep on playing. But look at who you have left in terms of offenses and quarterbacks that they have to play. Have to play at Georgia. Have to play Mississippi State. Go to Tennessee and play Joe Milton. Going to Texas A&M, who I think is going to be sneaky this year. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think Connor Wegman's really freaking good. You got Kentucky, Devin Leary. You got Clemson with Cade Klubnik and Garrett Riley, who knows what they do. So you see what I'm saying? This wouldn't be the foot you'd want to start on, needless to say. Now, if North Carolina is able to win this game, again, favored by 2.5, I don't want to overreact, but where would that put them in the ACC? You're going to beat a team like South Carolina and the way they finished last year and all the skins they have on the wall. If you beat a team like them, you start looking up and saying, okay, got to go to Clemson. That's tough. But like outside of that, show me the one game that's like, man, North Carolina, they're going to be outmatched. And this is, again, living in a world where they just beat South Carolina in this game, in North Carolina, in Charlotte. I think it's worth noting. I think it's worth noting for North Carolina what that would mean for them in terms of how they factor in to the ACC title race. Now, if they lose this game, I don't know that you're overwhelmingly disappointed. I don't know if you're overwhelmingly, having a big, wow, North Carolina's down the drain. It might take a second for them. I think the pieces they don't have offensively right now around Drake May concern me. This minus 2.5 makes me feel a little bit leery about Vegas with North Carolina. So keep an eye on that line, keep an eye on this game, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, College game day at that one. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Now, this is the game that I think a lot of y'all are probably tuned in for. Florida State, LSU, Orlando, Sunday night. Run it back now. That's what the people in LSU are saying. Run it back. We can't wait. We've been waiting for this one. And Florida State fans are saying, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. You must not know what we bring back this year. You also must not know what we got through the portal. Both teams feel really confident. Both teams, and I love this game because there's been so much trash talk through Twitter the entirety of the offseason, and I absolutely love it. It's not even a conference game, okay? It's not 2 SEC or 2 ACT teams. These are different conferences, and they have been chomping at the bit since the spring to get rolling here, and I love it, and I can't wait for it. Florida State, should they win this game, this would be the sounding gun for them for the college football playoff chase. I mean, let's be real. That's what it would be. You have 2 games circled if you're Florida State. You have this one. You have the game at Clemson week 4. Those are your 2 hurdles that you are looking at right now on the schedule. You have them highlighted. You're saying, these are the ones, boys. We get these 2, runway looks pretty clear. And they won this game last year. They feel like they got better from last year. Added Keon Coleman, who we've talked about a fair amount on this show. You got Jaheim Bell, you got Kyle Morlock. Like there's no shortage of weapons here for Florida State. They also bring back, I believe it's 90% or more production from that defense last season. That was really good. Jared Verse kind of introduced himself to the country last year in this game. There is no reason why they can't. It's a matter of doing it, and it's a matter of kind of checking that box, and then you look up and say, all right, college football playoff, baby, let's get after it. Let's make it happen here. Now, if LSU wins, it would feel a lot like the team that you saw the second half of 2022 started 2023. And it would just be big for them to prove to themselves that all that was said about this game last year, internally, and I think externally as well about LSU, was correct. Because LSU, they feel like they really didn't even find themselves as a team until the second half of last season. Jaden Daniels was kind of running all around in this game. Pass game was iffy. The defense was kind of trying to figure it out. Harold Perkins didn't even impact this game at all. Mason Smith got hurt in this game. Like, LSU wasn't the LSU we saw in 2022 in this game a season ago. And that's how they feel in Baton Rouge. And that's why they're so confident. That's why they're chomping at the bit for this one. Mason Taylor, he said in an interview, they were like, which game are you most looking forward to? He's like, hey, Florida State's the first game, but we feel like we got to get back what's ours. We feel like we got to go ahead and right that wrong, is what I was reading from that. So a lot's been talked about since this game happened last year. I promise you they've been waiting for this one to get back. Now, here's the thing. A loss for either team in this game, like I said, different conferences, so 0 impact on the conference title race, but it would go playoff mode for both teams the rest of the way should they be handed an L. And LSU, they got to play an SEC schedule. Florida State, they got to play Clemson. It would not serve them in any way, shape, or form for their greater goal to making the college football playoff should they lose this game. You go into fight or flight mode, and that's not the way that you want to roll coming out of the first week of the season. So it'll be a playoff atmosphere, playoff kind of feel. Heck, maybe even a little playoff buzz, having it be at a neutral site. Curious to watch how both these fan bases travel. I'm sure it'll be tremendous from both sides. I cannot wait for this game. Golly, it's so fun. College football's back. We're so back. Can't wait for that one. Big, big implications. A lot of things at stake in that one. Now, that Monday, because remember, we're not done. We got one more game here for week 1 of college football, and it's going to be a good one. We got Clemson at Duke. Clemson is favored by 13, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Clemson cannot overlook Duke at all. At all, because Duke brings back a lot offensively. I've said it many times on this show, Riley Leonard is the best quarterback in NFL draft circles' eyes, not named Drake May or Caleb Williams. They could give them some problems if they don't bring their A game. So Clemson, should they win this game? I mean, a win in this game is a lot like getting a turkey on the Wednesday of the week of Thanksgiving. You just got to find a way to get it, man. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter what it costs you. You got to find a way to get it done. And if they were to win this game, it would be a tremendous brick laid because of the reasons I just mentioned. It's a Monday. It's a weird week. You're playing a really good quarterback. You're going to their house. You got a new OC. You got a new quarterback. Like, you're breaking in a lot of new things in unideal circumstances. They cannot overlook this one. That line, I don't trust it for a minute. If Clemson covers, I think it's a backdoor kind of operation. Keep an eye on this one. Keep an eye on this one. Because a loss for this one, well, the college football playoff, we understand that they're not out of it, but kind of similar to the LSU Florida State situation. You're playoff mode the rest of the way. But for the ACC title, it's a one-game elimination for Clemson the rest of the way, in my opinion. That's what I think would have to happen. That's how vicious I think it's going to be for them to be able to get to the ACC title game. Now, that's not set in stone. That's just kind of my feel on it. But you got to go through Florida State, Miami, at NC State. You got UNC. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying that's a gauntlet to get through. And for the college football playoff, throw in Notre Dame, throw in South Carolina in there as well. Got to go undefeated through that to get to the college football playoff. Oh, by the way, the ACC title's factored in there. So the ACC title, it's not necessarily unreachable by any stretch. They could still definitely make it, even if they were to lose another game. let's say they show up with 3 losses, you're not out of it, but it does make you feel a little bit less comfortable about where you stand within the ACC title race. Now, for Duke, if they win, it's going to put everybody on notice. It will. A lot of people that have been telling us about Riley Leonard are going to say, we told y'all so. And a lot of people that don't know about Riley Leonard right now are going to learn about him from this game, I think, either way. But should they win, what does that say about Duke in the ACC pecking order? You just took down the champion first week of the season. What does that say about what Duke's going to be the rest of the way? I think that's kind of fascinating. But the real thing about this is the ACC title for Duke, yeah, they want to reach that. And yes, if they were to lose, their chances would be impacted, much like Clemson. But the beautiful thing about Duke in this game, they had nothing to lose. 2 touchdown dogs. Doesn't matter. They got nothing to lose. And there is nothing more dangerous than a man with nothing to lose. And that's what I think Duke is in this game. That's another reason why I think it's going to be such a good one come that Monday of week 1. So keep an eye on all these games now. Like I just mentioned, massive impact across the board for a lot of these teams. Florida State LSU will be a playoff game. Mark my words. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.